Let's bring in Tawhid Asadi, who joins us now live from Tehran. So, Tawhid, Iran saying it is reviewing new U.S. proposals after talks with Pakistan's military chief, Asim Munir. But then at the same time, we have these tensions in the Strait of Hormuz. Talk us through all the latest lines coming from Iranian leadership.
Well, first and foremost, we have to keep in mind that we're dealing, obviously, with a very brittle and at the same time complicated situation in which there are different actors and factors. When it comes to Strait of Hormuz specifically, we hear a mixed message from the Iranian side. Obviously, they're talking about the reopening of that. They are talking about the willingness to remain it open. However, when it comes to the military side, IRGC in particular, it seems that there is no such an intention, and that is obviously a sort of a strategic response to the blockade. First, Iranians came out to say that this is the wartime conditions that have imposed actually the situation at the Strait of Hormuz. Then later, after the idea of concessions, it turns out that the Iranians were interested in reopening it, but there was one condition that was time and again being mentioned. That was the ceasefire in the Lebanese front. After sort of new development in Lebanese front, Iranians decided to reopen that to everyone. As the foreign minister said, it's going to be open to commercial vessels. But later again, it turns out that there is another obstacle, and that was the effective blockade by the Americans, while Iranians, on the other hand, are saying it's not that much effective. So as you can see, there are a lot of controversies at the time being when it comes to Strait of Hormuz. A lot of, I would say, controversial lines coming from both sides, the American and Iranian side. But added to that is actually the context of Strait of Hormuz. As you mentioned earlier, Iranians are trying to use that as a pressure point, as a leverage point when it comes to the negotiations that might be ahead. That could be an important bargaining chip, perhaps the most important one. Also, we know that seeing Iran's regional influence and developments in that regard, the Strait of Hormuz is also important.
Meanwhile, Tawhid, that 2-week ceasefire between the US and Iran is now nearly up. It's due to end on April the 22nd. How are Iranians, where you are, feeling about this? Are they concerned at all about the prospect that we could be returning back to war?
Yes, they are. Obviously, the clock is ticking and many Iranians are following these developments. I would say there is a mixture of different sentiments among Iranians. There was sort of hope, however slim, that a negotiated settlement at the end of the day could end up in a long-lasting peace for Iranians. Meanwhile, there were talks about potentiality of a comprehensive deal between Iran and the United States, which meant basically the removal of sanctions and also the improvement in the livelihood of the people who are facing with years of international sanctions. And also, we know that there is this certain sense of frustration and uncertainty when it comes to the road ahead. We know that Iranians are very much worried not only about the shadow of the war, but also about the element of surprise. Even during the ceasefire, Iranians were in the middle of a negotiation, not once, but twice in the past 9-10 months, while the country faced an unexpected, unprecedented campaign of airstrikes. And they were also worried that this time again such a scenario could be repeated. Meanwhile, in a particular segment of the society, you can see a strong sentiment of resilience and defiance and deterrence among very ordinary citizens. Since the beginning of the war, we are witnessing night and day demonstrations, specifically in downtown, in most important squares of the city, people gathering to show their sense of solidarity, and some to show the support to the political establishment.
Okay, thank you for that update. Tawhid Asadi there for us with the latest from Tehran.